Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. So, for today's show, I have my good friend Greg Doyle, who not only is a beautiful friend of mine that I've known for, gosh, over 20 years now. We used to live around the corner together, as some of you might know from the previous show that we did together. And I can't believe it, Greg, but it's been, I think, about 2 years since we did that show. I was thinking it was like a year ago.
I think it was Solreta. Yeah, it's so nice to be here as well. But I think you're right. And it's funny because I was thinking, 10 years ago I was in Malaysia. And I thought, well, actually, oh, no, a lot longer. Yeah, right. It's 20 years. It's amazing.
It's
We're just around the corner.
Yeah, it's in the blink of an eye. So for those that haven't met Greg yet, I want to read your bio just so everyone gets an idea of why I've invited you on and the amazing work that you do. So I'm just going to read this. So Greg is the author of Awakening the Giant Within, and we will bring up your website shortly. The link is in the comments. Which is a personal adventure into the astral realms, which holds details of your experiences in the astral world. So you also hold Reiki courses, astral travel workshops, meditation classes. You offer healing and sessions as a Reiki master in Brisbane. And I know you were saying as well that you also were doing some online work. So we'll get into that. So also a former professional classical musician, Greg first discovered meditation primarily as a method to combat stage fright. So that was in 1999, he awakened to the reality of the phenomenon of astral projection. So this is a life-changing experience that expanded his consciousness, changed the course of his career, and altered the very perception of his being of a fundamental level. It also led you into studying Reiki, energy healing, and you began your training in Austria in 2000 and completed your master's in Australia in 2005. So welcome to the show and welcome to our gorgeous audience who's joined us for this exciting topic today. Is there anything you want to catch us up on perhaps since we last spoke? Or what's on your heart to share today?
Yeah, that's a good point. I was just thinking then how things just naturally go, isn't it? I mean, I think it's funny because like I've had a lot of clients lately who've had kind of similar issues. And then you tend to see there are kind of trends going. You probably have the same kind of thing. And then you realize, as a human, I'm tackling with things as well. And sometimes, the last few years have been weird and everybody's reassessing their life. So it's kind of good. I'm going down to kind of like a ground zero kind of situation where I'm experimenting from the very beginning with different, like to find that magic again, because as you know, when you have experiences, we tend to embody these experiences, which is what it's all about. We bring them into a being and like this past life and extraterrestrial stuff, you bring it in. But then it gets to the point where it's almost like a start again, where you have that feeling. I remember at the very beginning when I started having these experiences, there was the theme in my life of, is that all there is? The mundane existence. And that can very quickly creep in. What I mean by that is, getting back to the clients, like a lot of clients are coming in, they're sort of like, lacking motivation. So I found that lately I've really gotten back into kinds of meditation again, more because as you know, with me, it really did just start happening, the astral experience. I didn't go looking for it. And as an astral travel teacher, I'm always looking for ways to help people have this experience, and it's like circling a fire. You're looking for ways to get them in, all different techniques. So I'm finding, and it was such cool timing that you contacted me regarding this, but this whole, like what they call dream yoga. I'm really getting into dream yoga, really looking at those states more methodically, like the alpha states and the theta states and the delta states. And I never really looked into the science so much because for me, it was just a natural phenomenon, so I feel like I'm almost schooling myself on scientific principles and having fun playing with the science of it, if you like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And I
And I
love
mean,
the science behind it too. And that's really what I love about, knowing that we can actually, it kind of goes both ways. We can have these experiences where they spontaneously happen. But then when we look to the brain waves or we look to binaural beats or breath work and things where we can kind of induce these states to come about. And, that's something that I definitely am more I guess, gathering data and research for future projects and things around
Yeah.
that. So I'm excited you mentioned that. And it was funny because I was actually in the middle of a session with a client who's been a client of mine for quite some time, and we've become good friends. And she's like, I really want to find out how to, when I'm dreaming, I know I'm off somewhere else. And I have a lot of clients that you can see it in the aura, in the astral layer of the aura. I will usually get violets or indigos and purples and things. And I can tell that my clients are traveling, or they're off in another reality, or having, ET experiences or multidimensional experiences. You can literally see it within their energy field. And yours as well. You have a very lively astral world, I would say, or astral body. But yeah, I was on a call with her, and I'm like, all right, I know that I'm really good at getting distracted. So I picked up my phone. I literally just sent you a voice message in the middle of the session, so that her and I knew, right, this question or this topic, we're going to look into it a bit deeper. So that's something I'd love to ask you about today. But yeah, you might want to also just let people know what it is that the yoga aspect is. Do you mean yoga in terms of that being the word for meditation, or kind of that deep inward?
Yeah. Well, there is I guess they call it yoga nidra. There is that passive yoga, but they do have a thing called dream yoga. Is because it's funny because I had an astral workshop here once, and a couple of Tibetan Buddhist monks came to the workshop, which was so cool
That
to get
is.
their. It was, and they're all over it. They're saying, look, they're totally into astral travel and this kind of stuff, and they kind of call it dream yoga. It's a part of that controlling of your dreams and accessing, and even it's funny because, and we'll get into this too. This because the dream framework and the astral framework are very connected. As you know, we have dream body, we have an astral body kind of stuff. So I've been getting into some, because it's funny. I think it's the rebel in me. I'm often not good at being told what to do, and but lately, yeah, as I said, I've just been looking and really, because we go through our own experiences in life, and I think, you and I are very similar like that, where we're really into experiential. We're into self-experience, right? That's what it's all about. And but lately, I felt the need to, I kind of re-educate myself and just kind of get that magic back. And I've been like this morning, I had a really interesting experience. So basically, I lay there. So generally, and for me, that's pretty natural anyway. So generally, when I wake up in the morning, I realize that a lot of people wake up and but I love to be in that phase, that kind of liminal phase for a while. So generally, like what they call scientifically the theta coming into kind of like an alpha before we hit the beta, which is the waking, the tense wave. And I was just sending myself some healing. So when we all know this notion of sending ourselves healing and putting out vibes for the things we want to create. But when we're doing that in a certain brainwave state, it's much more powerful, of course, because which makes sense to most people. But I was there and I was just putting healing toward a situation. And then I had this beautiful dream. And when you have these dreams that are very vivid, it wasn't an astral thing. I knew I was dreaming, but it was a lucid dream, but I just sort of let it play out. I tend to let my lucid dreams play out rather than control them. And there were these, once again, the theme of Tibet, and they were like Tibetan people, and there was some baby that had some issue, and it was really interesting. I just felt myself pick up the baby, and it felt so nice, and this kind of toddler just sort of relaxed, and it was a beautiful energy. And I thought, this is bizarre. I'm in this room with these Tibetan people, and I'm holding this Tibetan baby. For some reason, I'm meant to do this, and there is no logical reason why, and it was just such a beautiful experience. I remember coming out of it thinking, wow, that was so nice. And that was just from setting myself a little bit of healing in that kind of waking state where I'm just not quite fully awake. And so here's one little tip before I forget. What I find is when we're doing that, in that state, when you're kind of between sleep and fully awake, I find if you lie on your back is really good. You don't necessarily need to, but often it just puts you into it. And if you raise your eyes and your eye socket slightly upward of the horizon, if you know what I mean, just slightly upward, I find that tends to keep me, if I'm doing any kind of programming or sending, or if I'm putting the intention to want to go to body, I find that keeps my mind aware. I don't slip back into sleep. So I just put my eyeballs slightly into my eye sockets, slightly toward the third eye, not all the way, not too far up, but I guess you are putting attention toward that area. And it has the advantage of keeping the body very rested, especially when you come from sleep, but your mind stays with it. Otherwise, your mind can skate off into sleep. And then I'll put intention. So I've found, and it's funny thing is, often through all this journey, it's not just astral experiences I'm looking for. I'm looking for, how do I say this? Because we are astral beings. We're astral beings before we're human. So I guess I'm kind of programming toward bringing more magic into my life, however that is. And this dream was so real, where there was this woman and her husband that were kind of old, and they were just telling me about this toddler who wasn't so well. And I just felt moved even to just pull them toward me. And it's sort of, the kid was like this and then just rested. And it was such a gentle, whether, and in the end, I don't need to analyze, was I healing for that person? Was it healing for me? Who knows? In the end, it was just a really good vibe. And that's what came, So in the end, it's often the least expected things that come, isn't it? And I could have put it.
Oh, sorry, Greg.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could have put out that intention, as you say, to meet some particular being, but I didn't want to. I wanted just that general, what is right for me right now. So whatever was going on then was the right thing.
And I think that's when those magic experiences happen, that, it is more experiential, like you actually holding that baby. We've just got a little kitten running around. My son's trying to catch her.
Oh, yeah, I saw
I've had to mute because she's being quite loud in the background. So yeah, we have a new little baby, Lyra. And I just want to quickly shout out happy birthday to my beautiful friend, Ben, who's in the audience as well. I just want to send you a lot of love. And it's his son's birthday tomorrow too. What you were saying about popping your eyes into that mode, I actually use a really similar technique. So in hypnotherapy, we will start with putting our eyes along the roof line, and you'll have where you mentally count down 3, 2, 1, and you'll drop your eyes as you get to 1. What's funny is, like, when you get really good at self-inducing, and I use this for, as part of hypnobirthing with having my kids too, but you can actually kind of put yourself into state just by that conscious will. And it becomes a trigger. So as you were saying, placing your eyes that way and your focus and attention, you learn more and more to step into that. Is that what you've found too, that it sort of becomes that anchor?
Yeah, and that was kind of natural, because I found with a lot of the earlier astral experiences I had, a lot of it was a lot of energy in the third eye and light and stuff, and I'd find I would naturally have my eyeballs, they were drawn upward. So I've kind of, even last weekend I was camping up, we're doing this kind of combined retreatish thing over the year, really, but there's a place called Mount Glorious nearby Brisbane, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful sculpture park there. Anyway, we're camping in the rain and the mosquitoes it was pretty rough, but it was good, great for astral stuff. And I remember just lying down early evening and just putting that intention out for contact with higher awareness. And this is what people have got to realize, is that, the universe is so loving, so benevolent. Anything kind of real is a beautiful energy. It's not, people don't have to be afraid. Anyway, and I felt there was this fantastic light show going on. I was quite awake, and I just had all these colors and lights, and I just sat there. I just lay there. I wasn't even sleepy, but I just sort of, my eyes once again were naturally drawn upward. It's so fascinating. It almost happens of its own accord.
Yeah.
And then you hear
Intriguing.
of then you hear of people who their eyes roll, like monks and things. And the third eye, just if we expand the notion of third eye as in our psychic senses, and which is the astral sense, seem to have that phenomenon, don't they? That this eyeball going up. So I even find too, like I go to a great Thai massage place in Brisbane. They're really good. They're like physios as well, but it's really good massage. It's not too heavy, but heavy. And I find that I don't want to go to sleep. I want to really enjoy this beautiful, really intuitive massage. So I tend to naturally, when I'm lying there, I tend to have my eyes go slightly up, and it puts me into this phase of I'm really relaxed, but I can enjoy everything that's going on. It's no effort, and because I want to be present with it, because I feel there's healing in the massage.
I'm the
I
same.
don't want
Yeah.
I want to skate off into stories, and that's all very well, because I know when I give Reiki, people they go gaga, and that's part of it, But I
Yeah.
just love to maintain my presence there. It seems to, and when I analyze what's going on, I'm just putting my eyes slightly up. It's a real thing.
Yeah, I wonder, because I know I've been hooked up to brainwave equipment and things like when I go into meditation and things. And what they found was that I went into like a deep, like Zen like monk state. So I just put my brain into the way that I would if I'm doing readings. But there was another brainwave state at the same time that was like a kind of almost like a
Gamma,
focus. Yeah.
gamma.
So it was like being in two states at once. So there's the
Yes,
deep kind of, yeah. Can you maybe explain a little bit about
I
like
will.
your knowing of that feeling or like what that would be?
Well, exactly, and the same kind of thing. As I said, I've ignored the science for so long because I've just thought, no, I don't want to be put off. But I also had someone. I had someone do my brain stuff for over a weekend, and this was with this light. This is Pandora light that I have, which is like
I've got to bring that up too. I was going to ask you about that. Keep
it's
going. I'll
pretty
bring
cool.
the picture up as we talk.
I will. And during that, the guy rigged me up, and he basically looked at my brainwave state in the night and the evening, and the same kind of thing as you saw. What he found was, he said, "Well, you're in a gamma wave state, so that is a what they call a flow high state Zen wave. So that is actually, so we go through beta is normal consciousness, then we go into the low meditation brainwave states are alpha, and then theta is like a sleep state, and then we go to delta deeper, and gamma is when we're kind of right out of it, but it's actually a very high frequency from 40 hertz up. So what's happening is, that's why in the astral states, for instance, things feel more real, because you're in a higher vibrational state. So that's why you can bring back more awareness of it. You are more aware there because you're not in a sleep state at all. It's actually beyond a meditation state into a high
Mm.
frequency state. And what this guy found out from hooking me up, he said your natural, even waking state, you had this gamma thing going on the whole time. Would be the same with you. And he said, so you're not really here, are you? And I felt like a deer in the
That
headlights.
sounds like
And it was, yeah, and it was kind of almost accusatory, but in a good way. And I thought, you're right. To be honest, I don't see this reality as particularly real, as in, of course, it is what it is. And I do enjoy
Mm.
it. And, often when you're sensitive, you've got to try, to enjoy, find the joys and relive those joys. But he's right. I don't see this as real compared to other states. But the positive of that is that one doesn't, we're not so reactive because we don't see it as real. We kind of skate along. But that is a
Yeah.
very interesting thing. So that's the gamma wave state is what you're talking about there.
Yeah, that's fascinating because also, and I'll play this as well. I've made sure that we should be able to hear the sound and everything. But when I'm in that state, or if I'm in day to day, and all of a sudden I see beings, because I've seen beings my whole life walking around our dimension of reality, and this veil between worlds is getting really thin, where we're starting to film, fairies just out here and things like that. I popped up couple of weeks ago. And, we're starting to actually get evidence for these other states and get the science and everything to back it up. But one thing I do notice when I've had like the Vedic looking gods and goddesses pop in, all of a sudden, this 3D world feels really, really not like the real world. And this experiential energy with them coming in, and sometimes they appear in temples of Vimanas, that just, it feels more real world than, yeah. And it is that kind of gamma state. Like, I don't want to finish that experience. I don't want them to go. Like, you feel so much love, so much bliss. I wonder
Yeah.
if that wave wise is that same state. So I'll play this little clip. And do you want to maybe just talk us into like what the Pandora is and the setup of everything?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a strobing light, and it's actually, that's the resting state, those blue colors. But it's actually, I like the Merkaba thing too of it. But so you lie there under it, and you close your eyes, and just these white lights strobe, and when you press the play button, you'll see these. You get all of these like geometry. You get a lot of sacred geometry. You get all of these. So basically, what it's doing is brain entrainment. So it goes through certain frequencies, and your brain will match those frequencies. So the thing of entrainment, it's like, for instance, when we're doing courses, like often just people being with you in the same room will pick up certain frequencies, because I found people often have astral experiences just because we did a call, but I could have not even spoken. I think I could just be sitting with them, and because so there's a thing called brain entrainment, where a little bit like if we all had guitars and they're all in tune, I play an A string, all the A strings will vibrate.
I
So it's
love
the
it. You
same.
and I speak the same language,
Yeah,
and I experience that too with clients, and I'm sure you do, with Reiki as well. And I think that's why, like, your energy healing and work, it just feels like it takes you to like that little bit deeper. Like when I tune into the energy of just, what we're talking about, I can just feel an experience with you would be different to an experience, say, and I'm not sort of, saying there's, better or worse or things, but it's like you really
different.
do have that energy field of where people will bio resonate with you and be able to kind of dip into deeper states and that a lot easier. And I think that's why people are attracted to, certain energy and things, because there is something that's resonating, or we're quantumly entangled, if we're looking at it from, that kind of level too.
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
this, you're absolutely right. And that, so the light, it'll go through different frequencies. Your brain matches them, and it's very active. Like there's lots of different, and you'll see lots of different colors. And eventually, your brain kind of cuts out. And you kind of fall asleep. And once I came out of, there's lots of programs. It was like a half-hour program called Reiki. And when I came out of it, when I was in that liminal state, right, I came out of it, and those Buddhist mandalas that are very ornate with frames and very
I was
ornate.
going to ask
So I
you about that.
now I
Yeah.
saw one of these, and I'm not a Buddhist, but I saw one of these, and it was alive. So the frame was
Mhm.
moving, everything was moving. And then I thought, oh wow! And then I just sort of I saw lights and things and colors, but it was quite amazing. And I realized, having heard the Om in the astral, I mean, these things, they're very real things. These mandalas, there's a reason for them. They're there, they're real. And I
They
think,
are. I have them
and
appear to me suspended
yes,
in, and
yeah,
they literally
exactly.
in our realm. I've had it since I was
Yes.
a kid, where I'd wake up to a mandala just next to my bed, and like this, it was like an energy portal sometimes. But yeah, like Sri Yantra, the one with the triangles that kind of form that star.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's certain reasons why we see these things. I'll play this
Exactly.
quickly and then we'll jump
I
back
have a little.
in.
Yeah, play that now.
Let's play this one. So just watch out if
Yeah.
you are sensitive to light or seizures or things like that. It might be a good idea to close your eyes for this time.
And this is just a representation, so it won't.
definitely go and check out Greg's amazing
Yeah,
website because there's so much on there. And you can see the light here, what it physically looks
that's
like
right. That's how it looks.
above your head. Yeah.
So yeah, it is interesting that we can have these technologies that do help us. And so with the brain entrainment, basically we tend, a lot of people tend to be in tram tracks. They tend to use the same kind of frequencies and they feel in a rut. Whereas when you go into this light, it opens up almost laterally all these other frequencies in your brain. So your brain, it's opening up these other possibilities, if you like, other ways of thinking. And it's quite amazing. I remember the first time I tried the light, that night, I was the caretaker of my own mind. It was like I was watching my mind and I would not allow any anxiety into it. And the next day I felt that good. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll just get one.
I love it. I'm already like in my brain, like cart, checkout, sold. That's amazing because I mean that's part of like the experience of being down here in the earth realm too,
Yeah.
is to be the master of your mind and to be able to not have that anxiety and things creep in, or to have those ants, automatic negative thoughts. Like you don't want any ants getting into your mind.
Yeah, and I think that, look, the fact is we do live now in a society that is always stop-start, and we're often, and it's difficult with phones and things. I know I'm often checking my phone and stuff. And so you're constantly intruding upon yourself. And not only that, often tech can be good, but also tech can drain you a little bit. So you want to recognize where you're being drained and work at losing the addiction for being drained. It's like I was thinking the other day, it's amazing, like in our society, we all celebrations are generally celebrated with some kind of chemical toxins. Like from the very beginning, like the incredibly sugary birthday cakes to soft drink to excessive alcohol. It's interesting, isn't it, that we have this kind of addiction to depletion, if you like. So looking at what depletes you and moving away from that, particularly as you get sensitive. And I think, you've just got to look after yourself and you can't compare yourself to others, because if you're involved in energy work or sensitive things, you're a different kettle of fish to somebody else. But you were saying before about the portals of the mandalas. What I realize more and more is these things are not representative. People have got to realize they're actually real.
Yeah.
They're not, you know what I mean? They're not representative. They are real. They are actually there. They are portals. They are tools. These things we can use, they are all real. And more, I'm realizing that. Like even the Om, when I first heard that in the void, I was astrally in the void, and it was just so deep and resounding and just so full on. I could easily have kind of found it too much and overwhelming, but it was just so beautiful to be in this incredibly low Om. And I realized, okay, that is the sound of the void, the cosmos becoming manifest. And to experience this stuff firsthand is so not only illuminating, it just makes you feel good, but you realize it's real. So like when you chant the Om, even internally, you don't have to be a monk. You don't have to necessarily believe it. I'm realizing that you don't have to have all this training in certain spiritual traditions. As incarnated souls, we would have done some of this stuff before, and I've seen myself in past lives doing stuff. So I don't have to meditate in a cave. I know I like to go camping sometimes and get out, and I know what I need to do. I need to get into nature and all that kind of thing. But people have to know that they don't have to be meditating all day. They can still have a normal life in our society and just take a bit of space a couple of times a day, maybe, just to be alone with themselves. And one of my practices I enjoy most is what I call contemplation, where particularly in the morning, if I do feel slightly anxious after sleeping or something, or at any time of day, I was sitting. I've got this reclining, really good. It's called the perfect chair. It's great, zero gravity chair. And I'll
Oh,
go back in it,
that
and
is
it's just
wonderful.
I'll just spend 10 minutes allowing my thoughts to surface and just watching them and thinking, oh, that's why I'm a bit stressed because maybe something happened the other day, or oh, I had that dream. And I find that after in the morning, even it can be even after breakfast, if you're able to sit down for 10 minutes, ideally before, often dreams emerge again, like the dreams that you had emerge. It's quite bizarre. And one, before I forget, one little tip also for dreaming: if you've had a dream in bed and you think, oh, you've forgotten it, if you turn your body to the position where you had that dream, if you can remember. So if you're lying in bed and you've moved over and think, oh, what was that dream? I find if I turn back into the position I had the original dream in, there's more chance of it coming. So it's like our body, there
I
is
find the
this,
same.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like getting back into the memory or the energy. And I remember when I was studying at college too, and our teacher was so cool. It was like a Hogwarts college. And I was
cool.
studying sacred sciences and things as part of my
Wow.
kinesiology advanced diploma. And she actually had us lay with a partner. So the whole room, we were just bodies on the floor. And people were laying, but they were copycatting or photocopying the exact position and sending telepathic messages. So I wonder if
Wow.
popping yourself back into that body position or that dream state, whether you're, it'd be interesting to see energetically whether you're quantumly entangling yourself back within that space yeah, I wonder what's happening on a science level with that. Oh, and another thing I wanted to ask you about tips and tools, and I've just popped Greg's website up too. And I'm also going to pop up and pop into the comments because we were talking about food. I had to quickly remind everyone too that I do have my soul balls and smoothie book here. So speaking of high vibrational food, I'm just going to bring this up quickly because it really does make a difference, like what you eat when we are opening to higher frequencies, higher energies. We want to make sure that we're also, feeding our body really good things. So I do have my soul balls and smoothies book. You guys will see that here, and I will pop this. You can see on the link, and it's also posted on Facebook and things as well. And you'll see here, it's just got a little bit of information on here and recipes. So there is recipes in the back, more to do with weight loss and things like green smoothies, but this is also about enjoying life too. So a lot of these recipes taste like ice cream or milkshakes and just amazingness. So go check that out if that is something you're into. But yeah, going back to like oils
But I'm
and
totally into that as well. I'm also into, I've seen that on your website too. And
I
we're
think,
totally into, beautiful smoothies with blue spirulina and mushrooms and berries in
oh,
the morning. And it's so, I'm so with you on that. And I find more and more, and it's kind of ramped up this year, hasn't it? Like we really need to be aware of what we're putting into our bodies now. I find more and more and more and more and more and more.
yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned like the blue spirulina and the mushrooms and things too, because some of these mushrooms, the consciousness that they have, and we're not talking about the magic mushrooms, Hyde, we're talking about medicinal
Yes.
mushrooms, but I've seen them in dreams communicating to me, telling me, that I need to take them, and then I've woken up with a cold and I've looked up and Googled the mushroom that I saw in the dream, and it helps with respiratory things.
Wow.
So I think these consciousnesses of the superfoods and of different plants and things are actually trying to help us, and it's like we just have to pay attention to those etheric threads and whispers. So yeah, that's cool that
Yeah.
you're into that.
Oh, totally. And I even find like a couple of years ago, ashwagandha, like just a bit of
Yeah,
ashwagandha smoothie makes me feel good. Just a little bit. It's amazing.
yeah, isn't
Okay.
it?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think when we
And
look at anti-Correllian photography too, this what I love about superfoods and things is you'll find that the plasma energy coming off some of these foods. And if we're talking about increasing our light bodies, or we're talking about making sure we're aware and awake in the dream world. And I did want to ask you, so just from a practical point of view too, like I love Blue Lotus. Is there anything like essential oils wise, crystal wise, or anything that you find is just that little bit of, I just keep getting it, that movement from spirit, like the piece of resistance, for sending us into that state.
It's a good point. I like to think I can do it without anything. I mean, I do have. It's funny because I have all these large crystals in my clinic, right? And people go, "Oh, you're reading crystals," and I go, "Well, not really. They just come." And it sounds ridiculous, but they just sort of gather, or people give them to me. Well, it's really weird. And I got these next to my bed. I do have. I don't even know because someone gave me for my birthday this year. A friend of mine, just this beautiful. And I don't even know what it is. I tend to have crystals all over the place. Like right now, next to me, I've got. I always forget what they are. That's a nice one. But I tend to just.
Calcite, maybe.
What is that?
It almost looks like a green calcite, perhaps.
I think it is.
Yeah, cool.
And I just, I do have a nice shungite Merkaba in my clinic, which I really like. And but I find, the one next to my bed, I don't even know what it is. It's not an amethyst. It's kind of a purpley blue one, but it's a beautiful one. So I tend to change things around. I do like that one. I had to find out the name of it. Just someone gave it to me. It felt right. I put it there. And I'm hilarious with names of things like, trees. And I mean, I realize I haven't been on this planet that long, literally in terms of lifetimes. Names and labels, I'm hopeless. So while I do have a lot of crystals around, I just get the one that feels right, And I do have one generally not far from my head. The other thing I find is this. Moni, my wife, does the Blue Lotus stuff. I do put a bit of that on. It's funny you say that.
You do the oil? Like you do it transdermally where you absorb it?
Yes, at night.
Cool.
Because I tend to have a shower at night before I go to bed.
Yeah.
And I put a little bit on my face and that area. And once again, I just do it because it feels good. You were the first person to talk about it. The other thing I do is always have a cold shower before I go to sleep as well. I just find that kind of sets me up.
Interesting. Well, it resets the nervous system as well.
Yeah.
So you're like,
and even in this room behind the camera there, it's really funny because in the study I've got an infrared sauna.
I've been researching for like the last little bit which one to get and looking into near infrared and all sorts of things.
It's a good one because you want one. It's got all of the infrared rays and it's also low EMF, and so I'll put you onto that.
Thank you.
I think it's Sunstream, so it's good. It's affordable. It's not because there are some that are very expensive, but I find the sauna really good, and it's a perfect little meditation pod because I can also sit in there, really good speakers, and I like to meditate. And you close it and you feel secure. There's a glass door, so I can see out the window. So it's like, do you know what I mean? And the sauna followed by cold. I have recently also I've recently bought an ice bath, and I have to get that started. But I find just the sauna then jumping into cold shower is really good. I mean, I like cold water generally, but I just find before sleeping, it tends to reset the nervous system. And whether or not, because I like to stay away from patterns too much because I feel that I can do it all, it's all within us. Yeah. But I find, I'll always have even if I have a hot shower, I'll always follow up with a good cold shower. And I find then my dreams are a bit more lucid. That's just what I find.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting to see what works for different people. I know with the Blue Lotus, if I make a tea, and I did one night make because I like making potions. So I did make a potion before we went to bed one night. I think it had sage, maybe a little bit of mugwort in it, some Blue Lotus, and had I think it was some essential oils. I forget which ones I put in. Flower essences that also, are good for enhancing our energy connection to higher realms and things. But I remember the morning my partner waking up and he's like, I'm seeing colors everywhere. Never had this happen before. He's like, I closed my eyes and there's like all these colors, and he's like, I'm in another it's
Yeah.
like I'm in another parallel life. And he was describing this whole other life that we had. And it was interesting because, working as a psychic and being able to go into multidimensional states and things quite easy. I went in and I'm like, oh, okay. And there was children in this state and they were a certain age and I could tell the age. And he's like, yeah. So it's interesting sometimes, like, you can with your partner or, with a close friend, and that sort of meet in these worlds and these states. But some of the herbs, blue lotus especially though, is really good for enhancing and kind of helping you drift into it and releases anxiety.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even know that. What a bizarre coincidence. I just started because it was there. And Moni suggested a few months ago that, she said you should try it. I didn't even know the properties of it. And so, but it's good to hear that. Once again, getting into the science of things, because, one's just drawn to it. And here I am, just the last couple of months, I've been putting on my face, and it's hilarious. It's hilarious. Because it felt good.
Get that medicine for like the world and the vibration. It's because you're, part of what you do. Yeah. And I think I really do see you as a beautiful soul that's like a vessel put here on earth to really help educate people how to get into these states. So it makes sense on why you naturally just would attract all these different tools and things that, help us to vibrate on that level even deeper. Do you want to share about your course and things that we have?
I will.
Because I know people will be into that too.
Yeah, I've got one coming up next weekend. Well, anyone can come because it's in Brisbane. Just a few people in my studio. I don't like, I mean, I can have 15 people, but it's just for 6 physical people. But people can come also. March 16, there it is. So people can also live stream. So I've got a setup, and they can get a video of that as well after it. So that's always good fun. That's just like a 4-hour thing on Saturday afternoon. Very good.
So that'd be great to check out. Like if you guys do want more tips and tools, or energetically, when Craig's teaching as well, to be in that quantum entanglement where you're just kind of sympathically, it's not even a word, empathically and psychically picking up that energy.
That's exactly right. So they're always good fun, and they generally flow on, and you can and it's from your own place anywhere. You can just, if you have a mat handy, that kind of thing. So that's always good, and just to give people a few ideas, and also there's a bit of downtime, like the second half, but there's some time when they can. But what I found is people, when they're lying down in a room, that's why I don't have too many people, because someone's going to snore. So I find, there's that is good. I've also got an online course that you can do in your own time, and that's on the Podia platform, which is good. And I've got a few downloadable meditations there, and there's also my book. And look, I'm always doing things, and as we were saying before, I think maybe you and I will do something soon that because the online thing, it's actually, you still, as you say, there's still that entanglement, still that and
I'm excited for future.
Happen.
Yeah, definitely. And I've popped up the link is also for that course that's on next weekend. I popped it into the comments too. But I just wanted to also share the book. Can you maybe, for those that missed the first show, just recap us on your amazing book?
Yeah, it is good because it's very readable, I've been told, which is good. It's not boring, absolutely not boring. It's basically how it happened to me, and I'm giving the story of these experiences, from past lives, from higher self to guides, to extraterrestrial connections, and also extraterrestrial past lives. And it's how it happened within me, and also there's a few tips in there, and a few exercises on how to do it. And also, look, I remember there was a mate of mine who was a lawyer, who when he read my book, because that was my first outing, when I wrote that book, that was the first time because it had got me into Reiki, but I hadn't told people about the astral stuff. I mean, you knew about it, but I hadn't told all of my friends about that, because I was thinking at that stage, it's a bit strange. And I remember he rang me and said, look, that can't be true. And I said, look, it is all true. And he said, okay. Anyway, rang me the next day and he said, this is bizarre, because he just started reading it. He said, I had an out-of-body experience just from
Wow.
reading it. And
That's that
like that,
entanglement.
well, it is. And it also inspired me because I saw in the astral that I would be teaching courses, which was pretty weird. Well, not weird. So you do see your future in the astral, and that happened naturally once again, a bit like the Blue Lotus. I didn't go looking for it. It just came to me. But then I remember thinking that whole entanglement thing was interesting. I thought, wow, he's just reading the book. So there are often obviously codes there, there are, and this that sort of unearthed this whole world of codes and downloads. And because I remember when I wrote the book, it kind of happened automatically, because you think, can I write a book? So, and as you know yourself, Sol, it's almost like something else steps in the best sense, and it becomes effortless. It just flows. There's no, because
Yeah.
in our reality, we're taught that everything is effort. We're programmed into sacrifice. More and more, I realize it's very much a sacrificial cult we're living in, whereas it's not like that. That's not reality, and that's it's much more flowing and much more ease as we're drawn really, aren't we, into it?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's interesting how it just sort of organically comes out of you, or there's a flow. And I do feel
Yeah.
that it's even more matched up, like when the timing is right as well. Oh, I wanted to
Yeah.
remind people to please like, share, subscribe. And I know, because I'm really intrigued about like the workshop next weekend too. What kind of things would people expect in that
Yep.
space? What kind of tips
So
and
what we
hints do
do
you?
is, yeah, it's pretty practical. I get into it. So I get people into doing sitting and lying meditation. So we get into a fair bit of chakra cleansing, which is really easy. Just certain breathing exercises through the energy centers, because then you're speaking directly to the energy bodies. Because really, the chakras are in the energy bodies, and they correlate to the endocrine and system. So really, by working with awareness in the chakras, so moving people's awareness through their body through a few exercises, working on developing the mind-body kind of almost the split, if you like, or like the valve. Like there's a valve between the mind and body that can be, we can get into that kind of valve area and control how much is going where. Also to alleviate the fears about, a lot of people they do have these maybe very, they can be past life fears of the experience. So there's a bit of discussion on how illuminating it really is to be the astral. Also, so there's physical, mental relaxation tools. There's a few, I take them through a few guided, what I call reverse engineering astral experiences, because everybody's leaving their body. So I'm kind of going through what is happening at night, because really it's often before dawn, but really it's to train almost the subconscious to allow you to have the memory of the experience, because we're all having astral experiences, but what blocks you from remembering it? And often it's the subconscious programming, generally often in the base chakras, of this existential fear, this fear of perhaps dying, whatever. So just certain little tweaks to get in there. There's a protocol, a little bit like you're saying with the countdown. There's a protocol on, relaxing the body, mind, staying with it, moving into that state, and you practice it even during the day of then. Where you're so relaxed, but imagining you're moving out. Maybe we move, there might be meditations moving into safe spaces, like places that really pull you toward them. So there's a few target exercises where you have a heart-based target where you wish to want to experience. So maybe it's meeting a person, someone who's passed on, or to go to a place that is very heart-driven, because the astral driver is the heart chakra. That's the one that gets active. So there's a lot of third eye and heart stuff. There'll be a bit of chanting to open up the chakras, and also focusing on frequencies above the head. So there's a few kind of exercises that I give them. Everyone gets they get sent like about an 8-page sheet on all the techniques we cover as well, so they don't have to write things down. So just covering all these techniques.
And even just hearing you talk about it, I just keep feeling like your voice is medicine. And I don't know
Yeah.
whether it's to do with your musical background and things too, but certain voices really, and I'm about to record another meditation I'm releasing tomorrow that you guys will be able to go find. It'll be up on YouTube. But I find that certain people resonate with certain voices. And I know, for me, if I'm doing the course, I would easily be able to just go out into another world listening to you speak. So I think that
You,
you're definitely the right person for the job with what it is that you're doing in the world. Can you maybe perhaps, I wanted to make sure to ask you if there's a favorite experience or like your new or recent favorite experience that you've had. Because I remember we talked about in the first one, your first experience of where it first happened and you were naked in the hotel room and in the astral state walking through walls and things. And that was really memorable. Is there another experience that you think you'd like to share?
yeah, one, look, it was really interesting. Also, before I go into that, also your voice too, I always thought it just takes you. It's just a voice that is very soothing and very interdimensional.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, totally. I was going to tell you that. It's just totally,
There's
yeah.
there's a guy that I had on my show on you guys will find it in my YouTube channel. And I think his name's David. I'm trying to visualize. I can see his face. But we did a show on this fairies in your voice. And he's a storyteller. And he talked about different people have different kind of tones and things. I think he said I was a mermaid, which is like enchanting and captivating and takes you into the story. But I wonder what yours would be. I'll have to check in and see.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Be cool.
Yeah.
Be cool to know what's going on. In answer to your question, look, I might have mentioned this one to you. It was just a few years ago. Well, no, I'll mention a couple. There was one I was in. Look, this was a waking astral one. I was in Stockholm. I was in Sweden because when I was in Spain writing this book, we traveled a lot, and I was in Stockholm on the archipelago taking this boat to this island. Anyway, I'm on this boat. I'm on this ferry. A lot of people around. A lot of boats around, and then I see this boat really fast, and it was. Have I told you this? It was really interesting, and it was kind of like it was a black boat. It was very modern, kind of like I don't know, like one of those big, like a big, what do you call it? I don't know what you call boats. Anyway,
I'm sorry, I don't either. Speedboat, a sailboat. Maybe it was one of those. Was it one of those nice luxury, a yacht or something?
No, it was speeding along, and all these dudes were in black with black balaclavas and like a whole squadron of like, and I thought, this is weird. Are they actually there? It was really clear. Anyway, they're speeding through, going past, and I'm going, whoa, look, check that out. And they're kind of looking at me as they went past. No one saw them. No, not a soul saw this, and it was quite remarkable. But that was interesting. I thought, what's that all about? That was interesting.
Yeah.
In terms of astral, I might have mentioned this one too, but a few years ago, so I'm lying in bed and I'm looking to get out of body. And now these days, that's tricky because I don't necessarily feel myself go out of body, but I noticed there was someone floating above my wife, and I realized I'd kind of gone astral. Well, so I was still there, but I was able to see astrally, right? And there was this as clear as day above my wife. Have I told you this one? No.
No, but I literally had something similar happen last night.
Yeah.
And I've just realized the connection that it's to do with the show we're doing now. But yeah, you haven't told this one about money.
Yeah, so, and there's this woman who's hovering above her and manipulating stuff. So she's hovering above doing this. And my wife, and I'm watching this, and now and I'm just looking at this woman doing this. It doesn't feel particularly malevolent or anything like that. Anyway, she sees me see her. She gets the shock of her life, which I find more and more now. Like in the beginning when I was going astral, if there was some kind of being there that I thought questionable, be finding ways to get rid of them. But this was like I was just looking at them, and she saw me see her. She got the shock of her life, like, sprung,
Wow.
and then disappeared out the wall, just flew straight out the wall. Now, my wife woke up immediately. I could see that going on. I came to, and I said to Moni, what's going on? And she said, I just had a nightmare. It was a run-of-the-mill nightmare.
Wow.
I thought, that's curious. I said, because there was a being above you manipulating your field. Now, if we throw the duality out, like what good, bad, forget all that. I mean, nightmares are actually kind of a good thing because we're bringing stuff up that probably, some shadows, right? So, but the fact that she saw me and nicked off and got scared. Now, what I find is, so was she playing City Buggers? Maybe she was, or she just got a fright that I saw her. She may have been told she could be a dream weaver and is not used to being seen. And I find that a little bit like in the beginning, how I get a bit shocked with certain ghosts, not so much ETs, because I was never scared of ETs, but ghosts I was scared of in the beginning.
Yeah.
Maybe, and maybe there are beings in these, lower astral or astral and stuff that are not used to being seen themselves, and it was just so kind of cool.
I've had the same, like walking out the back door of an old house that I was in, and there was Bigfoot there, and I went,
Oh, yeah.
and then I realized, actually, I wasn't fearful. It was the shock of just seeing something I didn't expect. That was, kind of, I guess I was sort of like oscillating into our dimension, and it was like this opalescence, transparent, rainbow sort of shimmer. And then I went back out, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be scared. I just was surprised. So I think that these, beings can get surprised as well. Last night going to bed, I was laying there and I put a meditation on, and I was just listening, and I was so aware of my guides around me, and I felt enveloped and wrapped in love. And there was one that was very consciously there, and she was beautiful in like turquoise and violet robes and, blonde hair. And I just felt this energy of her sending love and healing, and there was like a different level of awareness. So I know we're shifting, like we're really, really shifting now, and shifting fast in terms of being able to have these kinds of experiences. Have you noticed like a bigger, I guess, step up to do with other dimensional things and that? Have you noticed the change over the last couple of months?
I really have. It's a kind of a serious vibe as well.
Yeah.
And I find it's like a while ago, for about a week, I would feel nauseous around anything with Wi-Fi or any screen. So for a whole week, I just had to look away. I couldn't do it. And it was like
your screen just popped out and glitched as you were talking about that. Then
that's intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
So that led me to getting I got a Faraday cage around the bed now. So at least it's like a beautiful mosquito net. It's an organic cotton. I got it from Germany, but it had this blanket underneath. So when I go in there now, it's breathable. I have SOS only on my phone, so no Wi-Fi from neighbors, just to have a bit of time out. Not that that's essential, because our bodies are building strength and immunity to these things. But it's kind of like a serious vibe. And as I said, personally, I feel it's almost like going back to square one. I'm rediscovering the magic again of new experiences in different ways, like I've never really been into remote viewing. I've been to astral traveling, but now I'm getting into remote viewing and just finding ways to make it fun for me as well. So everyone should be, if things get a bit like that, or it's a serious vibe, and just to look for answers, ask for help, ask for clarity is really good. Getting to nature and to ask for clarity, because it is a time when our energies are stepping up. So the food thing, I think you're absolutely spot on. I think we need high vibrational food now. It's not representative. It's real. Like the food is
it's not something we can with the food side. And I'll just bring that little link up again. Yeah, it's definitely not that we can fake. We
That's
have to
right.
do the work. Oh, and speaking of like work and things, I also wanted to share because I know we're at the top of the hour, and I know this conversation that we're having will leave people. Let me just pop this down so we can see everything. Um, so yeah, please check out Greg's other interviews because I know if you guys are like me and you start to go down a rabbit hole, I'm just going to pop this down. Hold on a sec. There we go. Just wanted to make sure we can see everything. So you do have our good friend Phil Rice here, and we've seen him in the comment chat. Say, hey Phil, love to chat with you with some esoteric information. Oh, and I can see our last shows on there as well. And yeah, so people will be able to continue listening to this because I know it's nighttime over in the States and over in Canada. So yeah, head on over there, you guys, if you want to look at some really cool interviews. Is there anything that you want to mention just before we finish up?
Oh, look, enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride and look after yourself, and also let yourself off the hook occasionally is good, I think. If people just be nice themselves is important, and to rest up, because I find I've often got it, these days I've just got off a nap. I've got to have, and it's not even sleeping. I'm just lying there with my eyes closed. Like I've just got to almost cut out from this reality I find at the moment. Like I'm just, like the other night I forced myself to go out and meet some friends. It was hilarious in the middle of town in a place called South Bank in Brisbane. And there was all these night markets and like just the weekend before I'd been camping on this mountaintop, and it was just like it was actually good for me because I felt so separate from all of this, but I thought, look, I need to reconnect a bit to the vibe of mainstream before I'm totally dislocated, and it was fine. It was fine. I mean, I got a bit tired and I had a cold shower when I got at 9. I had my rituals. But,
it can be hard to integrate. Especially like if you go away for a meditation retreat, or I remember after ayahuasca going back out into the real world after that, and even the next day still feeling the vibrational echoes of being in that space. Like it's like we're still, entangled energetically, still vibrating at that resonance. So sometimes it is good to, to kind of ground back into society when you feel ready, of course. And I can see Chelsea is also mentioning about, and someone else mentioned too, I haven't seen things yet, but apparently there's something happening. So yeah, just sending healing prayers and love to children. So I'll have to catch up. I think someone was saying something happening in Ethiopia. So yeah, there's a lot of things, I guess. And we are in a particular interesting astrological time. I know my good friend Meg has been talking about we're in, I'm trying to think what it was. It was Pisces energy. She said it's almost like a Halloween astrologically, what we're experiencing this period of time right now. And we have, I forget which moon cycle it is tomorrow. I'll have to check in ready for my show tomorrow because we'll be talking about that. But the energies and the veils between worlds are really super thin. So I think, your course coming up next weekend, perfect time also to, to energetically get into that space and use that as a bit of a leverage to help, slide us on in to discovering these otherworldly realms. But thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. Great to chat, as always.
Oh, you're so welcome. And please send my love to Moni as well. And thank you to our beautiful audience for joining us. And yeah, I definitely would love to have you back on and talk about like further developments and things that are like going on in the world. But thank you.
Thank you, Solreta. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
You're welcome. Bye, guys. Thank you for joining us.